The title of today is Born Before the Outbreak of World War I. And I'm very, very proud to be able to introduce two of our senior members of our synagogue, Alfred Silvertown and Kitty Freund. And if we give them a round of applause to help them to feel welcome. I had the opportunity to spend some time with Alfred and Kitty, who also, by the way, spent some time with each other, having tea together and enjoying each other's company. It's been lovely. Asking them about what it meant to be born before the First World War and what that war did to their lives. Now, there's some special treats available today. So you'll see a piano there, and we're going to sing some of the songs from the period, accompanied actually by Kitty a little bit later on. And we're also going to have plenty of time for your questions. So, especially for our young people here, I know you've been thinking about questions you would like to ask Alfred and Kitty, both of whom, by the way, have been members of this synagogue for many decades. I should say one of Alfred's claims to fame is he is the most senior adult member of the synagogue, having joined in 1938 when he was a young man of 23. Although Geoffrey Rose, I think, gets the very first member here, but he was a child at the time, it wasn't his own choice. He was brought by his parents, like you guys. But there we are. Okay, I'm going to begin by asking you this, Alfred and Kitty. So, first of all, where were you born, and when was it? Where did you grow up? So, can I start with you, Alfred, if I could, please?
Yes, I even remember the number of the house in which I was born. It was number 82, Belgrade Road, Stoke Newington, London, N16. It was a semi-detached house of about 3 bedrooms. And when we first moved there, in fact I was born there, I lived there with my brother and sister, and I was the middle of the family. Eventually there were 5 children. I was born in May 1914, which was 3 months before the outbreak of the First World War on the 3rd of August 1914.
Thank you very much. Kitty, could I ask you the same question? Where were you born and when and where did you grow up?
Well, actually I was born in Liverpool I don't know the number. It was called Freund Grove, Sefton Park, Liverpool. But I left Liverpool when I was quite a little girl, and my mother brought me to London. And she had to go to work, and so she left me for most of the week with my aunt and uncle in West Norwood. And I grew up there, and I went to a Jewish school there until I was 11. And then I won a scholarship and went out to one of the girls' public day schools. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, they can. Yeah. Now, the place where you grew up in West Norwood was rather special to the Jewish community. And some of you may recognise that name Norwood, but not necessarily from the place. So could you tell us a bit about the place where you lived?
Yes. Now, it was West Norwood, and it was a big and the only Jewish orphanage in England. And my aunt and uncle were the headmaster and the matron of that orphanage. And it's not there anymore, it was pulled down. But one of the little places called the Gabriel Home, where the little ones lived, is still there. And there were 450 little children who went there, who went to school there, and who grew up there. And of course they left when they were only 14 or 15 years old. And they were all orphans. Mostly came from the East End. Perhaps a quarter of them came from the provinces.
Thank you. So some of you young people may have heard of Norwood, one of the Jewish charities which helps with the needs of young people in the Jewish community, and it's named after the Norwood Orphanage where Kitty grew up. And by the way, if you'd like to see a picture of her, if you look at page 3 of our word sheet, you can see a picture of her in a nurse's uniform. I guess she must have been about 5 years old.
No, yeah.
There they're younger than 5, so maybe 3. So that picture taken probably in 1916.
I was supposed to be a Red Cross nurse. That's what I was.
What was it like in the streets around where you grew up? Can you tell us a little bit about what Stoke Newington was like in those days? Nowadays there's kebab shops and all sorts of things. I don't imagine they were there then.
Well, one thing I can remember from probably the end of the war is that people were for the first time, buying their own private cars. But many of those cars couldn't start. It was very difficult to get the clutch in at the right moment with the accelerator. And you could sit in the window of number 82 Belgrade Road and watch the house opposite trying to get their single car, 1930, start, yes. And usually they had to get out and use a turning handle at the front of the car to start the car. So you had to be pretty strong to do that. And then, of course, this is after the war, perhaps I should mention it here, that in 1926 there was the coal miners' strike. It became a general strike. This, of course, meant that all transport around London was stopped, just like we may have it next Tuesday for the 2 days. Anyway, it was rather curious that public school boys came to the rescue of some school children because they drove buses to and from school for school children. Not at large, you were very privileged to be able to get one of these buses. But it was rather astonishing that it was mainly the public school boys, probably the sixth form and afterwards, that began to drive these buses that, in a sense, broke part of the strike.
Kitty, you told me that the cars that you would see at Norwood were very rare and tended to belong to the benefactors of the orphanage. So
not many people could afford to buy a car during the war. Not at all. I mean, my uncle had a motorbike and sidecar, and my aunt would sit in the sidecar and I would sit on the pillion seat behind, just strapped in. But I think the roads were very, very different from how they are today. I mean, people went on public transport, only really. There were buses. The number 2 bus went from West Norwood all the way to Golders Green via Victoria, and I think on a Sunday it cost a shilling. You know how much a shilling is worth? It was 12p, and the buses were open at the top. You walked up a stair, and on the top, if it wasn't raining, you could sit on top. And there was a notice, which I somehow learned to read from, and it said, "Do not lean over the side of the bus. The company will take no responsibility for accidents happening through neglect of this warning." And then there were trams. Do you know, have any of you seen trams?
yes, some of the young people have, as well as the youngsters here have all seen the trams.